Don't be afraid of the Maverick Transportation Abilities Test. I've talked to some folks and have gotten some emails about that particular portion of Maverick's pre-employment evaluation, and some folks hear different details about it and conjure up in their mind more of an obstacle than the situation presents. It's really not that big a deal. What it's designed to do is to make sure that you as an individual can perform the necessary functions of flatbed type of work. And what I'll do is kind of walk through the process of it and elaborate a little more to that effect, but it's really not that big a deal. For the abilities part of it, the people there that administer this will tell you how to do each of these maneuvers safely and correctly, and then if you happen to struggle with it, they will give you some pointers on how to do it, and you should be able to do it. I've seen big guys and little guys. I've seen big girls and little girls all be able to complete this successfully. So a lot of it, as with much in life, is all about your mindset. So get your mind right, and then you can do it. Basically, on a Monday, so this would be day 2 of Maverick's pre-employment evaluation. Day 2 starts off Medical Monday, as they call it. You'll come in, do some classwork type of activities until the medical team gets there and gets set up, and then you go in small groups as it can be facilitated out in the area that they have, and you'll do your DOT physical, which is just a routine minimal type of physical examination by the doctor to make sure you do that, get your DOT medical card. That's pretty basic stuff, nothing to worry about there. They also have a federally mandated urinalysis. Any commercial carrier has to give you a urinalysis drug test. Maverick also does a hair follicle sample where they shave off a portion of your hair. In my case, they did most of this forearm with a little safety razor. It's not that big of a deal. There were a couple guys there that didn't have enough hair on their arms, or I forget the scenario, didn't want their arms shaved, but the guy had more hair than I do, and so they clipped off a little up here and tried to make it look nice. They can get it from anywhere. You just have to be able to provide a certain amount of hair to get the sample, and they've got a little card that they'll show you, and they'll shave off until they get that amount, and they'll zip it up and send it off. And that is for Maverick's drug analysis for their insurance. The DOT does not yet recognize a hair follicle test, but most big companies do that test anyway because it goes back a little further than the standard urinalysis. If you're worried about how far back it goes, well, then you've got other problems, and you should probably spend some time getting that aspect of your life right before you waste anyone else's time. But anyway, enough about that. So you do that part, and then you get in line and you do your standard vision test. You read off the eye chart and do that. They take your height and weight and will measure your neck, the circumference of your neck. And if those factors combine to produce a body mass index at a certain threshold, then they have to send you for a sleep study to see if you have sleep apnea and need to have a breathing machine. Maverick will pay for the sleep study, and if you need a breathing machine, a CPAP, I believe it's called, Maverick will pay for that up front, and then you can pay them back at, I think it's $10 a week or something. I didn't qualify for that test. I didn't need to have that test done, so I can't speak to that. But if you are in that situation, as many people are, they pay for all that up front and take care of you in that regard. And there's many people at Maverick, a lot of the instructors even, who have to use those machines, who will say that it's greatly improved their life, and they speak very highly of it, and it seems to help a lot of folks. So you do that, and then that concludes your physical examination. Then you go upstairs into some classrooms at the Maverick facilities for the abilities portion. You walk into one of the classrooms they have set aside, and you sit down in a chair, and the first thing you do is a grip test. They give you this machine. It looks like a really elongated paintball handle with a big, huge trigger, but it doesn't move when you squeeze it. You squeeze it with your right hand as hard as you can, and there's a dial on the front that the physical therapist reads the pressure you apply to it. What's weird is you can't feel it move at all, so you just gotta get in there and give it your all. You do that, switch to your left, and you squeeze it back to the right. You do 3 times on each hand. No big deal. They're just taking measurements. You got to have a certain grip strength. And again, keep in mind, I've seen big guys and little guys and big girls and little girls all complete this test successfully. So you do that, and then you do calf raises, basically where you would stand on the chair, pick one foot up off the ground and raise up on your toes with one foot. You do that 20 times on each side. That was me trying to give you my impression, since I can't stand on the desk here at the hotel and do it. Anyway, you raise up on one foot 20 times for each foot. Then you go over to another physical therapist and you do some of this part standing, you do some of it sitting. Basically what they're trying to do is establish a baseline for how far you can move. You'll march in place and they'll make sure you can move your knees high enough to walk. And then they'll have you stand and close your eyes and tip your head backwards, and they'll measure how far you can move your neck from side to side and front to back. The same with your arms. You'll sit in a chair and move your arms and legs all of a certain way, and they will test for resistance there, that your ankles and stuff are strong enough and that you can move your legs and how far you can move. And what that basically is establishing a baseline. So if something should happen down the road and you hurt yourself, heaven forbid, and say, oh, well, I can't move my neck anymore and I've got to sue you for $10 million. They can go back to this form and say, well, no, you could only move your neck so far beforehand, or whatever. I'm imagining. No one said that to me. That's just my interpretation of why they would be measuring your movements. And I've had several of these types of examinations done over the years for different jobs. Most companies do something similar to this. So you do that. Then you go next door and it gets a little more physical. You will lay on a table and they'll do some examinations, just you can press your arms and your legs up, and you have to do one sit-up laying flat on your back. With your feet stretched in front of you, you have to do one sit-up and touch your toes. Then you do 4 deep squats. And then comes a little bit more physical portion of it, the step test they call it. They have a step that is about, it feels like just slightly taller than a regular step you would find at your house or apartment or something. It's just a little taller than that. And you basically step up with both feet and then step down with both feet. You do that for 3 minutes, and then they test your heart rate before and after. They want to make sure that your heart doesn't explode with a minimal amount of physical activity. After you do that, then you stand in this little box with your feet on both sides of the box, and they have sandbags in a 5-gallon bucket. The sandbags feel like they weigh about 8 or 10 pounds a piece, and you reach over with 2 hands, grab the sandbag out, move it over, twist this way without moving your feet, and lower it down into the other bucket. When you fill up that bucket with the sandbags, you reverse the process, fill up the other bucket. Then you go to the next station where they have a box on the floor. It's a wooden box, about yay big, and you pick that box up, set it on the table, pick it off the table and set it down. It's got handles in it. It's pretty easy to do. It doesn't feel that heavy. It feels, I don't know, maybe 30 pounds, maybe 20 pounds. Didn't feel that heavy. That wasn't as big of a deal. Then they have another box. It's like a milk crate size thing with handles on it that you have to pick up off of the table and press it above your head and set it back down on the table. Not that big of a deal. They have another similar type box then that you pick up off the floor up to your chest with your elbows out. It's hands like this, elbows out, pick it up to your chest, and then set it back down on the floor. Then you go downstairs for some actual work that takes place on the flatbed trailers. You start off, there's an army rucksack on the floor with some weight in it. It feels like about 50, 60 pounds maybe, with a long rope with a handle on it, and you have to drag that so far, I think about 20 feet, turn around, walking backwards, and drag it back the other way. It's on a smooth concrete floor, not that hard to do. And then you would walk over to what looks to be it's a metal bench basically. It's shorter than a bench, it's about the size of a bench, maybe about as wide. It's probably about 18 inches wide and about maybe 2.5 feet tall. You step up onto that, it's maybe 10 feet long. You walk to the end, turn around, walk back, and step off. Then you go up to the part that everyone seems to have the most trepidation about, and it's where you use a ladder, 3 points of contact, climb up onto a flatbed trailer, and there's a huge wooden box on the trailer. It's probably 8 by 8 square, and it's maybe 5 feet tall or so. And you have to, using your upper body strength, hoist yourself up onto this box and stand up, and then come back down in the same manner. Now, it's a lot easier than that, given that there are 2 tarps, 2 big lumber tarps laying on the flatbed trailer at the base of this box, which you can step up onto those 2 tarps that are laid out like so. And that instantly reduces the height of the box you need to hoist yourself up upon. But the clever people, and this is no secret, they let you do this, and it's not a big deal at all. If you take one of those tarps and stand it upright on top of the other tarp, suddenly it's 1 step up onto the lower tarp, 1 step up onto the taller tarp, and then I am pretty flexible. I then could step up onto the box, and with just the minimal amount of effort pushing myself up. Not that big of a deal. Don't let that part scare you. And again, I've seen big guys and little guys, and big girls and little girls all be able to do this, no problem. So there's no reason why you couldn't do it as well if you really want to. And that's half of the process of anything in life, is just wanting to do it badly enough that you will figure out a way around, over, or through any obstacles presented to you. So I hope that this is not going to be something that keeps you from coming to Maverick Transportation. If that's something you're interested in, you can shoot me an email, and I'll do whatever I can to answer any questions or point you in the right direction. Again, I thought so highly of the company that when my personal situation changed, I came right back to Maverick as soon as I could. So all is well. That is basically a summary of day 2 of the pre-employment evaluation, and I hope that you found this video helpful. Thanks for coming along on the journey.